And so it came to pass in the year 561 of the Fifth Age that the Adventurers' Guild of Timbercrest sought to reclaim the treasures entombed within the forsaken halls of Tharok-Thûm, a relic of dwarven grandeur now lost to time. The task, seemingly modest for an A-rank adventurer such as Vaeloris, was entrusted to him, and with him, 3 novices set forth, their ambitions as bright as untested steel. The Adventurers' Guild of Timbercrest stood as a monument to time and tradition. Its towers of stone and timber reached skyward, crowned with banners that whispered tales of victory in the mountain winds. Within its sturdy walls, past tapestries depicting ancient quests and triumphs lay the Guildmaster's chamber, a place where decisions carved destinies. The room bore the air of solemn purpose. Heavy beams arched overhead, their wood darkened with age, while shelves of scrolls and ledgers lined the walls. A great hearth burned low, casting flickering shadows that danced across the wolf pelts draping the chairs. Vaeloris, the elven adventurer, sat with measured poise across a desk of polished oak, his emerald gaze resting upon the Guildmaster. The elder, wrapped in furs and the weight of years, regarded him with a blend of respect and expectation. "Hello, old friend," the Guildmaster began, his voice warm despite the gravity in his tone. "It is good to see you, though I fear I have called you here for burdens rather than pleasantries. I must ask a favor, one that I know presses against your own wishes." He leaned forward, clasping his hands. "There is a young company of adventurers, raw but not untouched by hardship. They have glimpsed the shadows this world can cast, and I believe, given the right guidance, they may yet become its defenders. I ask you to take them under your wing, to teach them, shape them, and test their mettle." The Guildmaster gestured to the table, where a rune-carved key lay alongside a leather-bound bag marked with sigils. His task, should he accept it, is to take young adventurers to a journey to Tharok-Thûm, that forsaken dwarven city, and retrieve the entirety of the vault's contents. This satchel, a gab of holding, will grant them aid, should vault's content is too much for carry. And with this key, they will unlock the vault and face whatever secrets lie sealed within. He met Vaeloris' gaze. "I know it is much to ask, and I know you have sworn off taking apprentices, but I see promise in them. To let such talent fade would be a loss to us all, and rest assured, should you accept, the rewards will be worthy of your effort. As a reward for this mission, he will be given 5 gold coins, and additionally for taking upon his wings those adventures, he will be given 5 platinum coins, 1 from the start, and after their training is done, he will receive 4 more." Vaeloris regarded the Guildmaster with a measured gaze, his fingers tracing the grain of the polished wood before him. "You speak as though this world can spare no dreamers," he said at last, his voice low yet firm. "And perhaps you are right. I have seen the light of promise dim too soon, and I have seen shadows consume those unguarded by wisdom." He leaned back slightly, the firelight casting faint patterns upon his ageless face. "If these young ones carry even a spark of greatness, then it must be shielded until it can burn of its own accord. I will take them to Tharok-Thûm. I will see them tested and shaped if fate permits." Vaeloris' hand brushed the edge of the rune-carved key, his expression hardening. "But mark me, old friend, this will not be without cost. I will teach them as best I can, but the fire they face will not yield to mere instruction. They must stand or fall on their own feet." His gaze returned to the Guildmaster. "Should we return whole, I will hold you to your word. Let the gold and platinum be fair recompense, not for the journey, but for the weight it carries." Vaeloris rose, the weight of the Guildmaster's request still lingering as he turned toward the heavy oak door. The scent of aged parchment and smoldering fire faded behind him as he stepped into the corridor that led to the antechamber. The room was simple, lit by a single lantern that cast a warm glow upon the stone walls. Against this modest backdrop stood the 3 adventurers, a trio of youth bound by resolve and shadowed by experiences beyond their years. They straightened as Vaeloris entered, their eyes flickering with both curiosity and doubt. Vaeloris regarded them in silence for a moment before speaking. "I am Vaeloris," he said, his voice calm but carrying an edge honed by time. "I have agreed to lead you, but know this. Your path will not be easy, and I will not shield you from its trials. If you falter, you must rise. If you lose faith, you must find it anew. The first to step forward was Andreas, his posture stiff with pride. Andreas, sir, I wield the blade, and my strength is yours to command. Next came Solara, her voice soft but sure. Solara, priestess of Solvian, I will tend to wounds and guard the light among us. Last was Nyx Kaido, his steps light and his words edged with humor. Nyx, shadow and dagger, if locks and traps bar our way, they will not stand long. Vaeloris nodded, his gaze steady as it passed over each one. You have named yourselves. Now we will see if your names hold. His gaze lingering upon them as the lantern's glow flickered. Rest well tonight, he said, his voice steady but edged with resolve. For when the sun breaks over the horizon, we set forth. The road ahead is long, and the journey to Tharok-Thûm will test both your strength and your spirit. Prepare yourselves, for by this time tomorrow, we leave the comforts of these walls behind. The morning sun crept over the horizon, spilling golden light through the high windows of the guild hall. The adventurers sat gathered at a long wooden table, their plates still bearing remnants of breakfast. The clinking of cutlery and quiet murmurs of conversation filled the hall, but their attention shifted as Vaeloris approached. The elf's footsteps echoed softly as he neared, his presence commanding without effort. I see you have eaten well, he said, his gaze sweeping across the group. Now gather your things. We leave at once. The road is long, and Tharok-Thûm waits for no one. The adventurers quickly rose, securing their packs and weapons. The air was thick with unspoken anticipation as they followed Vaeloris out of the hall and into the courtyard. The city stirred to life around them, merchants calling out their wares and laborers preparing carts for the day's work. Yet the group pressed forward, their path leading them through the city gates and onto the open road. The day's march began in earnest. The sun climbed higher as the adventurers passed through rolling hills and winding forest paths. Birds sang overhead, their melodies a stark contrast to the weight of the journey ahead. Vaeloris kept a steady pace, pausing only to ensure the group remained together. By midday, they stopped beside a shallow stream, the cool water offering respite from the heat. Vaeloris knelt by the edge, filling his flask, and turned to the others. Rest now, but keep your guard up. You never know what can happen in a while. This is only the beginning, and the hardest paths lie ahead. By the time the sun dipped low and cast its crimson glow over the hills, the company reached a small clearing nestled beneath the sheltering boughs of ancient oaks. The ground was soft with moss, and a trickling brook murmured nearby, lending its voice to the quiet stillness of the woods. Vaeloris set down his pack and motioned for the others to do the same. This will serve as our camp tonight, he said, his tone practical. Gather wood for the fire. We must keep the night's chill at bay. Andreas took to the task eagerly, venturing toward the tree line in search of dry branches. Solara knelt by the brook, filling her water skin and murmuring a quiet prayer to Solvian as the stream glistened in the fading light. Nyx lingered near the edge of the clearing, his sharp eyes scanning the shadows. When the fire was lit, its warm glow cast flickering patterns upon their faces. They gathered around it, their voices hushed but steady as they spoke of the journey ahead. Vaeloris's gaze fell upon them, and he let the firelight dance in his eyes before speaking. These woods are kind enough, he began, his voice low, but do not mistake their peace for safety. The wilds remember things men have long forgotten. Keep your ears sharp and your blades ready. Solara broke the tension with a quiet question. Vaeloris, have you ever been in Tharok-Thûm? Vaeloris rested his hands upon his knees, gazing into the flickering fire before answering. I have set foot in Tharok-Thûm more than once, though never lightly, he began, his voice measured and tinged with memory. It is a place forsaken, silent as a tomb, yet heavy with echoes of what once was. The halls feel empty, and yet they linger with shadows of loss. He looked up, his emerald eyes reflecting the flames. There are goblins there, or so the scouts have claimed. They prowl the edges, scavengers feeding upon what can they find in the forest and surrounding area. They see in darkness as well as we see in daylight, and should they catch us unawares, they will have the upper hand. But they come only in small numbers, often stray wanderers from deeper nests. The city bears no master now, no banners or flags wave from its walls. Vaeloris' gaze hardened. Yet danger lies not only in the goblins, but in the city itself. Built in the First Age, it has weathered time. But time is a relentless foe. Cracks spread through its foundations, and some wards that once held the earth firm have faded. The mountain shifts as it pleases, and tremors have been known to collapse tunnels without warning. And if you're still here, thank you, and I hope I see you soon. Please like, subscribe, and cheer me on in the comments.